Is it possible that the Skar King is even more diabolical than what he was in the New Empire before his reign? Is the Skar King the one that could be responsible for eradicating the Gojira and a large number of the Titanus Kong alike? More importantly, is it possible that he actually started the first Titan War? Could the Skar King have been responsible for the genocide of both sides by starting a global war? The recent introduction of the Skar King as the next great Godzilla and Kong villain has given us some more insight into the respective paths of these two mighty beasts, but in doing so, it has created a few breaks in the timeline that we know of. In a previous video, we detailed the idea that there was a primary Titan War and then a second uprising long after the war had died out, but we believe the Skar King's involvement may actually go far deeper than this. So then, is it possible that the Skar King is actually old enough to have participated in the last great Titan War? And if so, what might that suggest about not only his character, but inform what we know about the war? Well, today, Heralds of the Titans, let's explore what we know about the first great Titan War. For a full breakdown on the two distinct conflicts though, be sure to check out our previous video, but the basic premise is that the first war was an interspecies conflict. This would have seen multiple Gojira and great apes battling each other to near extinction, with only a few remaining survivors on each side. In Godzilla x Kong, we learned that Godzilla was the sole opposition to the Skar King's attempted siege of the surface world, indicating that this uprising took place years after the original Gojira and Great Ape Wars. For this video, we will be focusing on what we believe was the first war, which saw united forces from both sides battling each other en masse. Right now, it's important to note that we don't have very much concrete facts about the first ancient war between the Great Apes and the Gojira, and while we have theorized extensively, very little is set in stone in the lore. What we do know for certain though, is that in the years leading up to the war, the Gojira roamed the Earth's surface while the Kong ruled the depths of the Hollow Earth, and they were able to operate with a mutual respect for one another and their territory. They were not outright allies, but they were able to successfully coexist on Earth given their own territory. Furthermore, something that we do know is that some unidentified threat unified the Gojira and the Kong together, and was strong enough to call for a formal alliance between two groups. We don't know specifically what the threat was that unified them, though we have several theories regarding from Ghidorah to Shimo to the Zos Lahawa that we encourage you to check out, but we'll be pulling details from each of these theories going forward. After this unification, they learned much more about one another, including their various strengths, weaknesses, attributes, and assets. And specifically, the Kong came to learn about the Gojira's ability to harness immense amounts of radiation and power. This is the first time that the Kongs watched Gojira absorb and utilize the energy of the Hollow Earth, and they wanted a piece of this immense power for themselves. The legend tells of a Cold War, as the Great Apes kept attempting to get the Gojira to surrender the dorsal fins of their fallen comrades, making it so the Kongs could use them to craft weaponry and tools. The Gojira though refused, and the tension came to a head when one of the apes killed the Gojira in order to take one of his scales, and begin testing different types of armaments that could be used in future conflicts. As of now, this ape has never been officially identified, but it is possible that it may have actually been the Skar King who killed this Gojira and who started this massive war. Experimenting with the Hollow Earth radiation kicked off the war between the Kong and the Gojira, making Skar King not only an enemy of Godzilla in one war, but two. If this is the case, then it would explain a few things about the character that we see and add much more depth to him. First off, we know that up until now the Great Apes have only been able to use the energy of the Hollow Earth through artificial means, such as the dorsal axes or other weapons crafted from the scales of Gojira. The Skar King though, seems to have a particular affinity for harnessing this energy that goes far beyond what we see from any other Great Ape. This would actually make sense if he has been studying this for the longest of any of the Kongs. In the New Empire, we see that he has harnessed a Hollow Earth crystal and uses it to cause Shimo immense pain whenever she disobeys him. This allows the Skar King to keep her at bay and bend her to his will, which is a feat of Hollow Earth science that no other ape has been able to demonstrate just yet, and proves that he has an understanding which goes far beyond anyone else. Even Kong himself came across the axe and learned of how it worked after it had already been fashioned. We also know that the Skar King did something to earn the respect and the fear of the other Titanus Kong. Even going back to the second revolt, the Skar King still had the charisma and leadership to command an army who was eager to follow him, implying that even before the second revolt, he did something to earn the respect and revere among his community. Being a high-ranking official in the war that eradicated the Gojira would certainly garner him the necessary respect, the respect he needs to command the whole entire legion of apes, and could very well be why they chose to follow him so wholeheartedly. His use of weapons also indicates some level of combat expertise, and specifically, we know that his whip slash was constructed from the spine of a fallen titan, though again, the exact titan has not been officially confirmed or identified. Is it possible though that this is actually the spine of a Gojira that he killed at the dawn of the war? In this case, the spine would live as a constant reminder of his power, and would be a trophy from him to display wherever he went, a reminder to anyone who would stand in his way that he annihilated a Gojira. If the Skar King was the first ape to kill a Gojira, then this could have allowed him to create all manner of weaponry and tools, including not just his whip slash, but the knives we see among the apes, and potentially even the axe that Kong himself wields. After all, Kong didn't create this axe, but instead he found it in the ruins of an ancient Kong temple. If this is the case, then this would have allowed the Skar King to be the first ape to experiment with the power of the Hollow Earth. He could have armed his cohorts and leveled the playing field in a battle between the two apex predators, the Gojira and the Titanous Kong, swaying it into the ape's favor. From here, the Gojira and the apes would suffer immense casualties on both sides, but each fallen Gojira would only go to strengthen the Kong, allowing them to create more and more weaponry, and then only a few would remain. This is where we recommend you check out the full timeline of both wars, but this could be where the Skar King began to regroup. After all, the apes were nearly extinct. Those who were alive are battle hardened and needed to recover, and the Skar King doesn't know for sure how many Gojira were still alive. As the years passed on, the remaining Gojira would die out until only one remained, and he takes this moment to strike. This could be where we see the revolt detailed in the Iwi ruins, where Dr. Andrews talks about Godzilla's involvement in sealing the apes away. They could have been imprisoned as the story tells, but this could still mean that the Skar King was single-handedly responsible for both wars, and led to the near extinction of the great apes and the near extinction of the Gojira. He could have fought on the front lines, developing a sense of combat expertise that he displays, but he is a tactician and a scientist at his core. Behind closed doors, he may very well be fascinated by this power and gravitate more towards strategy and experimentation than physical combat. He clearly knows more about the Hollow Earth than any other Titan or character that we're currently aware of. He even saw great value in Kong's axe. Eventually, this power leads to new abilities, including the ability to use these crystals to bend Shimo to his will, and newfound respect from these survivors of the war, and future generations of the Kong who elect to follow him due to his accomplishments and power. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of our theory? Do you think the Skar King started the war, being the first and the second Titan war? And if so, what role do you think he could have played? Was he on the front lines, or was he in a sort of lab where he was experimenting with his newfound discoveries? How is it that he was able to master controlling Shimo when no other Titan was? And is it because that he is the one solely responsible for attacking and killing the first Gojira? Is the Hollow Earth energy, and specifically his expertise here, the reason why he's able to manipulate Shimo? And does he have other abilities that we currently haven't learned of yet? As always, my friends and fellow Heralds of the Titans, please leave your thoughts on this in the comments down below, and I hope you're having an amazing day.